Welcome back to QuickSpeak. You know we love a good chat, and today we're digging our fingers into something really fascinating, the world of houseplants.
It really is a fascinating world, isn't it? And, so many people think taking care of plants is like just a quick water here and there, but
Yeah, definitely more to it than that.
there's a real art to it. It's almost like they have their own language, and once you start to understand it.
Oh, I like that. So how do we decode those messages? What are some of the things our plants might be trying to tell us, even if they don't have voices?
Well, one of the biggest things, and it's a silent killer, is root rot.
Oh, root rot. Every plant parent's nightmare, right? It's like it can sneak up on you.
It absolutely does. And the symptoms can be so sneaky, you might think your plant just needs a little more water.
Right, because it looks wilted or something.
Exactly. But with root rot, the roots are already so damaged they can't even absorb any more water. It's like a vicious cycle.
So what? We're basically adding fuel to the fire by watering it.
Sadly, yes. It's like instead of helping, you're actually making things worse.
Yikes. So if we suspect root rot, what's the first step? How do we even know for sure?
Don't be shy. Get your hands dirty. Check those roots. See if they're firm or if they're mushy and discolored. And the smell?
Oh yeah, there's that distinct aroma.
That's root rot saying hello, unfortunately.
Okay, so let's say we catch it early. What's the game plan?
Act fast. Trim away those affected roots. Make sure your scissors are clean. Of course, we don't want to spread anything. And fresh soil is your new best friend.
Fresh start.
Right, absolutely. And ease up on the watering for sure. That's usually the culprit in the first place, giving it a little too much love.
Okay, so speaking of giving our plants the right kind of love, let's talk about the containers themselves. Does the size of the pot really make a difference?
Oh, 100%. You can't just stick a plant in any old pot and expect it to thrive. It's all about finding that sweet spot, like Goldilocks.
Not too big, not too small.
Yeah. Too small and those roots get all cramped, can't breathe, but too big.
Let me guess. More prone to root rot.
Bingo. The soil stays wet for too long, and it's just a breeding ground for trouble.
So finding a pot that fits just right, is there a general rule of thumb there?
Yeah, you want to go about 1 or 2 inches larger than the root ball. Give it some room to grow, but not too much.
Gotcha. It's like upgrading to a bigger office, but not moving into a giant empty warehouse.
Exactly. Now, another thing those roots need, well, not the roots directly, but the plant overall, is the right humidity level.
Ah, yes. Humidity. This is especially important for our tropical plant friends, right?
Oh, for sure. They crave it, especially in those drier months. But you can actually create little pockets of humidity in your own home. It's easier than you think.
Okay, tell me more.
One trick, and it works like a charm, is to group your plants together.
So it's like they create their own little ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. They can actually benefit from each other's moisture. It's pretty cool.
I love that. Teamwork makes the dream work, even in the plant world. Any other tips for boosting humidity?
Well, if you want to pamper those divas even more, a pebble tray is always a good idea. Just a tray filled with pebbles and a little bit of water at the bottom.
Oh, right. But the plant pot sits on the pebbles, not directly in the water, correct?
You got it. We don't want soggy bottoms here, remember? That can lead to our old nemesis, root rot.
Right. Always have to be
Right.
mindful of that. Okay, so we've covered pots, humidity. I think it's time to tackle the ultimate plant parenting challenge.
Yeah.
Watering.
Ah, yes, watering. The source of so much confusion and accidental plant homicide.
You're not kidding. So let's break it down. What are some common watering mistakes people make?
Well, the biggest one, hands down, is overwatering. It's like the kiss of death for most houseplants.
I have definitely been guilty of that. See a droopy leaf and immediately think, water, water,
Water. I know, right? It's so easy to do. But really, what most plants need is a good soak less often, rather than a little sprinkle every day.
Makes sense. Let those roots really quench their thirst.
Mhm.
So how do we know when it's time to give them a drink?
Ditch the schedule and use your senses. Stick your finger in the soil. If it feels dry an inch or two down, you're good to go. If it still feels damp, hold off.
It's like checking a cake for doneness, right?
Right.
You wouldn't just go by the timer on the recipe.
Perfect analogy. You really have to get in there and see what's going on beneath the surface.
And of course, our plants give us other clues too. Like if the leaves are looking a little, I don't know, less perky.
Exactly. Droopy leaves, they're feeling a little thirsty.
Okay, so we're listening to our plants, learning their language, and making sure they've got a comfy home. But we can't forget about the most vital ingredient for plant happiness, can we?
Ah, you're talking about light. Absolutely crucial.
Sunlight. It's like plant fuel, right?
Yeah.
It gives them the energy to photosynthesize and grow those beautiful green leaves. But just like with water, we can have too much of a good thing. Too much, too little. How do we find that sweet spot when it comes to light?
Well, it really depends on the plant, you see. Some plants are total sun worshippers, like succulents. They'll soak up all the direct sunlight you can give them.
Right. And then you've got your low light tolerant plants, like snake plants. They're pretty happy even in a dimly lit corner.
Exactly. So, first things first. You got to know your plant's personality. Are they a sunbather or more of a shade lover?
I love that. And
Yeah.
once we know their light preference, how do we find the best spot for them in our homes?
Okay, so a south-facing window, that's prime real estate for those sun worshippers. Brightest light throughout the day. East-facing windows, that's good for plants that like it bright but not scorching hot. West-facing, you get that afternoon sun, a little more mellow.
Okay, makes sense. What about those of us with maybe not so much natural light, north-facing windows or what have you?
That's where our low-light friends come in. They can totally handle it. And don't forget, a little artificial light can work wonders too. There are some great grow lights out there that can give your plants a boost, especially in the winter when the days are shorter.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like giving them a little dose of sunshine, even when it's gloomy outside.
Exactly. It's all about recreating that ideal environment for them to thrive.
Well, I feel like we've covered so much today. Pots, humidity, watering, light. It's a lot to take in. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are on their journey to becoming plant whisperers?
It might seem overwhelming, but honestly, the most important thing is just to pay attention. Really observe your plants.
Listen to what they're not saying.
Exactly. Look at their leaves, feel the soil, and they'll tell you what they need. It's
Yep.
all about building that relationship.
I love that. It's like any good relationship, communication is key. Well, I'm feeling very inspired to go home and check on my own plant babies after this chat. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine. I always love talking plants.
And to our amazing listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of QuickSpeak. If you enjoyed today's deep dive into the world of houseplants, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes.
And let us know in the comments what you'd like us to chat about next time. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, happy gardening, everyone.